LAWsome by ConsultWebs. Breakthrough insights to build a thriving law firm with your host, Tanner Jones.
Hello, all you LAWsome listeners. Today on our show, we're talking with Krystal Champlin, CEO at RJH Consulting. It's a company with over 60 years of experience implementing successful solutions for hundreds of law firms that have needed help with building, growing, and managing their law practices. Krystal is a legal industry veteran with over 12 years of experience in law firm management and operations consulting. She works side by side with her clients to identify and analyze the bottlenecks and the challenges that they all experience. Today's topic, it's on tracking key point indicators, or KPIs, that matter to the growth of your law firm and the well-being of your operations. So welcome, Krystal. Very happy to have you taking time to join the show today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Super excited to speak with your audience about this topic. It's very popular within the legal industry right now.
Indeed. And matter of fact, just over the last several conferences I've attended, it seems like KPIs have made their way into some of the speaking engagements. And so you're right. It's all around us. But I think, realistically, there's still some law firms out there that they may have heard about this. They may know it's a good idea. They just simply haven't taken time to truly understand it and implement it. And so hopefully this discussion with you today will give them a boost of motivation once they hear some of the practical application of it. So let's dive in, because we've come out of a pretty odd era. Through the pandemic, lots of changes in the business world, lots of changes in the global world, as well as clearly leading into some economic challenges. And with economic challenges, naturally, all businesses, not just law firms, need to be much more conscientious of running very smooth operations. And so all that being said, I always think it's helpful to start with the end in mind, or start with the why. What's the purpose with this? Why is it so important for law firms to take KPIs seriously and start to track some of these performance indicators within their law practice?
Well, it's important, one, to have a vision. It's important to measure, because you're measuring the performance and you're measuring accountability of your team, and you're trying to move your business forward. If you don't know what point A is, how are you going to get to point B? So when you're tracking these key performance indicators, it's really, really important to know what you're measuring and that you're actually measuring meaningful KPIs. There's a quote by Peter Drucker that says, you can't manage what you can't measure. So if you're not measuring objective and key results, then you're just basically running numbers, and if you're not doing any analysis or creating benchmarks and performance goals, you're not moving your firm forward. Mm-hmm. I think the goal here is to make sure that you're measuring the right KPIs that matter to your firm, you're analyzing them, and you're recognizing the trends month over month, year over year, and then also the same time periods in previous years, so you can see that historical data and try to make something out of that. Analyzing some of the raw data and the correlations between the data, what are your gaps, and then creating an improvement process around that is going to help you be able to move your law firm and be able to compete with some of your competitors in your market as well.
Do you know how many cases you're signing from your marketing investment each month? If you want to diagnose the status of your firm's marketing efforts, then the LAWsome podcast has a gift for you. Discover the best and the most unique legal marketing solutions available today using the Decision-Making Handbook's free printable criteria. Claim your copy in the bio below. I think it's so common in the legal space to, forgive my terminology, but get fat and happy as a business owner, right? And what you're saying is, I've heard it. It's akin to your dashboard on a vehicle. If you're taking a long trip across the country, being able to see how much fuel you have, what level of fuel, your oil temperature, right? Some of these things that are critically important to making sure you're successfully getting from point A to point B. Without it, you're truly flying blind, and you can often miss important things like missing the gas gauge going too low and being stranded on the side of the road. So what do you see on the missing side? What are law firms missing by not having effective KPIs in place and monitoring regularly?
Really, they're missing the boat to be able to grow and compete within their market. So, I like to tell law firms to measure 4 particular areas, which is financials, intakes, the productivity, and then some other areas regarding, specific to your practice. And when you're measuring those, the possibilities are endless, right? You can, depending on what your goals are, depending on what your benchmarks are going to be. So, for example, some of your financial numbers for a contingency fee firm may be, what is your average fee? And how do we increase that average fee? What are the things that we need to do within our law firm or our case workup to increase that? Another financial KPI may be, tracking the cost per lead or the cost per case. If you are not tracking that, then how do you really know if your marketing is working? One of the things that I get often, I ask law firm owners, are you obtaining all of the cases that you want within your intake, and is your marketing working? And the answer is always 100%. But when you start digging down into it, they're really not, because they're not tracking the meaningful KPIs that are moving their firm forward. Another thing I like to start with, is always look at a firm's profit and loss statement. We're looking at the big 3: attorney compensation, non-attorney compensation, and marketing. Are those 3 in line? Are they healthy? So you can net a healthy net ratio. When you're looking at those things, you start looking under the hood again, and then you start saying, okay, this piece of the law firm's not working, or that piece of the law firm's not working, and how do we make that all come together to get to the end goal?
I think that's all incredibly valuable. There are some business owners out there that, you can do a simple Google search, what are effective KPIs for law firms, but the struggle is that it can get overwhelming when you start seeing that full list, especially if you're not tracking anything in particular. So you've hit on a few of those, but any feedback for our listeners on how best to choose the right KPIs for them and their law firm? What should they take into account?
Sure. So you need to look at all areas of your law firm. Start with, your marketing. What is your cost per case, cost per lead? What is it costing you to get a case in the door or a lead in the door? And then what is your ROI on that? What are you making per case that you take? For intake, intake is really 2 parts. A part of it is marketing, getting viable cases in the door, and then part of it is sales. How well can your team sell your firm, and how quick can they get those retainers in the door? For billable hour or flat fee firms, how are they doing the business development to make sure that that person is referring them cases or clients to them?
Yeah, that's great, Krystal. No question about it. Every firm is going to be slightly different, but what you've hit on, it really expresses some commonalities from one firm to the next. Any firm that's intentional about, putting marketing dollars out there, putting effort out there in an effort to generate calls and clients, there are objective metrics that they can be looking at and monitoring. Another thing, though, that I found, it's not just a matter of doing the hard work in the beginning and getting those KPIs set up. There's value in having a good process to monitor those and to ultimately ensure that those KPIs are doing what they're intended to do. Can you speak to that concept and maybe offer any advice for our listeners?
Sure. If you don't have a case management system that you're tracking and you're not training your team on how to put that data in, we all know garbage in, garbage out. So it's really, really important for you to train your team on what metrics are important, what do those fields mean, and what is the data that goes into those fields, so you can get meaningful reports out. Once you start getting those reports, you'll start seeing trends, and you'll start recognizing your numbers, whether it is something that you are happy with or you're not happy with. And then you start creating a system around that of, how do we move this forward? How do we increase our numbers? What's going on behind the scenes or underneath the hood that we need to address to make sure that we are hitting these benchmarks? And your benchmarks are going to be different depending on what geographical area you're in, the size of your firm, how many attorneys you have. There's a lot of factors that play into what your benchmarks can be that are realistically.
Every year, we make predictions about legal marketing trends that will affect hundreds of thousands of lawyers across the country. If you've been looking to reach new clients, stay informed, or gain a competitive advantage in your market area, this is your opportunity. Unlock the secrets of success with this exclusive PDF that reveals some of the top legal marketing trends in the industry today. Claim your copy in the bio below. And I think that's an important piece too. Some of these law firms, if you're listening and you're like, I have no idea what a certain percentage or ratio should be, that's okay. Until you start to track it. You're not necessarily going to have that benchmark. And so that's what I hear, at least loud and clear, Krystal, is that get data, get average data first, and then that's what's ultimately going to fuel future decisions. Would you agree with that?
I do agree. Now, there's industry benchmarks out there, but again, the size of your firm, what posture you're in, how long have you been in operation, how many attorneys, all of those play a factor into it. My best advice to our clients is to, hey, where are you at now? Let's figure that out. Let's figure out what the vision is 3 years out, and then create a plan to get there.
Now, I want to tap into some of your experience. You have over 12 years working with law firms, consulting firms, really understanding their operations and their businesses. Let's move into some of the key areas of opportunity that you've seen with respect to law firm growth potential. Where do you find lawyers are struggling the most when it comes to growing their law firms today?
I think they are getting overwhelmed because the legal industry is so saturated right now. I think over the past 10 years, it has become even more saturated than we've seen before, and it's just going to continue to do that. I think areas of growth growth opportunities for attorneys is making sure that you are delivering that world-class client service. You're calling your clients. They know the status of their case. And it doesn't matter what practice area you're in. That's just a general, rule of thumb. And then, get out there and network. Get out there and make yourself visible. Get on social media. Those organic referrals are going to continue to come in for you if you're doing the work. One of the things that I do see, or a question that I get asked a lot is, I'm an attorney, I can't do this and also run my practice and make money. Well, you have to carve out time to work on the business, right? And so I encourage people to, carve out whatever it is that is your peak hours. Maybe it's from 5 to 7 in the morning, or it's, 4 to 6 at night. Carve out that time to work on your business, create your KPIs, and get a plan moving forward.
Such good advice. And I think sometimes it's just a matter of just getting started, right? Yes. It's like taking those first few steps and just getting the ball rolling.
You have to start somewhere.
That's it. And, we've talked a little bit about the evolution. Obviously, the last 10 years, I would agree with you. I've seen the marketplace just continue to get even more and more congested with more and more niche practices, right, which makes it even more competitive when you're going against a firm that's hyper-focused on a specific practice area. All things to take into consideration when it comes toward growing your business intentionally. Mm-hmm. But I want to come back to the KPIs topic because I think we've hit on the big picture of KPIs, given some practical advice on where to get started. But with this evolution of technology, of competition, it presents opportunities to maybe better organize your KPIs for tracking and measurement. Any new technologies that law firms should be aware of when it comes to tracking KPIs effectively? Yeah,
most of your CRMs or the newer ones have programs built into it to track every phase of a case, from your marketing to intake to how to get demands and records and what's the benchmarks there. And they'll tell you that, and they have built in out of the box reporting. If you don't have that, I do recommend that you find something for intake. Lead Docket is a really good one. I think there's Law Ruler out there. There's Case Test. There's a couple other programs out there that can do pieces for you. If you have not invested in a CRM, I recommend that you do one. You invest in one that has all the bells and whistles, because as your firm continues to grow, you're going to need those reports. The other thing is, if you don't have a case management system and you're still working off of Word documents and paper files, and please do not let me know that, get an Excel sheet. Start identifying what you have, start identifying your KPIs, and start tracking with that. And if you're a graphics person, you can use pivot tables, make it colorful, that type of thing. If you want a sample of an Excel sheet, I do have that for you. I'm happy to forward that if that's what you need to get started.
Hiring an outside marketing agency can take your firm's business truly to the next level. But having to compare and contrast different legal vendors out there can be a rather overwhelming and complicated process. So we'd like to help you with that. That's why we've created this free digital vendor checklist. It's going to give you the tools and, more importantly, the confidence needed to truly evaluate and vet the potential vendors out there. It's going to help you understand specifically their legal marketing expertise, team qualifications, what they can and cannot do, types of services they offer, and expectations of those services, proof of success. Have they been there before? Have they helped other similar law firms like yours? And arguably, more importantly, your digital ownership rights related to working with them and what you own or do not own. Claim your free printable checklist in the comments below. Krystal, as we wrap up, I'd like to continue with the theme of KPIs and tracking in particular. But most of these listeners, they're business minded, many of which are lawyers. All of which are looking to find that competitive advantage and continue to grow. It's just an important part of growing a business is having that mindset. So part of a mindset is challenging the status quo, right? And differentiating your firm from another firm. So when it comes to challenging the status quo related to KPIs or even KPI tracking, are there any practices you would recommend that law firms consider?
Be open to pivoting. When something's not working, don't ignore it. Get in front of it, pivot, and continue to pivot until you get it right. I often see a lot of law firm owners that, this just isn't working, so we're going to trash this, or this isn't working and we're going to ignore this. That's not okay. That's how you're going to lose the game. So get in front of it, pivot, be okay with pivoting, be okay with change, and just keep moving forward, keep moving towards that 3-year goal.
Hey there. Perhaps most don't associate lawyers with the social media platform TikTok, but I would encourage you to think again if that's you. The reason being is TikTok is now the #1 most engaging social media platform on the market. It presents truly a lucrative opportunity for lawyers who know how to use it and use it effectively. If you're interested in leveraging TikTok for your law office, grab the free resource in the comments below. Well said. Yeah, adaptability. It's not going to be perfect when you get started, and I think that's the disclaimer with all of this, is that it may not be perfect, but it's important to commit to it and to continue to adapt, just as you've suggested.
Right.
Krystal, any final closing thoughts for our listeners?
It's a long-term game out there. Those who are in it to win quick, you will have early wins, don't get me wrong, but it's a long-term game. And so stay with it, stick with it, continue on your path, continue to pivot, hit your 3-year marks, and then create some more benchmarks for you to continue to grow and stay in the market. And the other thing is network, get visible, and get on social media. I think the power of social media, especially for law firms today, is an incredible resource to all of us.
Couldn't agree more. Such valuable advice and even better encouragement for all of us. Krystal, what's the best way for listeners to contact you?
Sure. They can reach me at Krystal with a K, Krystal at rjhconsulting.com. Or they can visit our website at rjhconsulting.com, fill out a contact form, say that you want to talk to Rockstar Krystal, and our business development rep will get you in touch with me.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
LAWsome by ConsultWebs with Tanner Jones. For show notes, links, and info, go to consultwebs.com/podcast. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. Watch for the next LAWsome episode to discover more breakthrough insights to build a thriving law firm.